All right, gentlemen, welcome back to Box to the Battlefield. And today we're going to do a little study on lowering the suspension on our King Tiger. It's one of the last steps before we begin painting. As you guys know, we've attached the Zimmerit, we've put the battle damage in it, and now the fun begins. As soon as, well, let's put it this way, as soon as the suspension is lowered and we get our settings, then the fun's going to begin, because then I'm going to have 3 or 4 sessions just on the painting. I know you guys prefer the painting versus chitter chatter with Dave and I. We get that. There's just things that we have to get out of the way. If I had this all assembled in a diorama setting with the suspension lowered and all that stuff, the first thing I'm going to do is get 20 questions about how did you do that. So we don't want to leave out any steps in our process. And like I say, just hit the fast forward and hop to the painting if that's what your wishes are. But lowering the suspension on heavy weights in the German tanks is not hard at all. Just be careful at which ones you're going to lower the suspension on. I mean, obviously a Panzer IV design is different than a Panther Tigers and King Tigers, Yag Tigers and things like that, Yag Panthers. All those things have the same characteristics as far as lowering the suspension and the torsion bar suspensions. So just be careful when you're choosing. So one of the, this is done by MiG, but the trouble with finding this is issue 10, spring of 05. It might be a little difficult to find this extreme modeling, but nevertheless, it's spring of 05, issue number 10, and it's a great T-55 barbecue, is what it's titled, and in the article. MiG did it, so you go back, that's quite a stretch, but he is obviously a very consistent modeler who's going to pull this off better than I'm ever going to do it. But nevertheless, if you, I'm sure possibly if you went to MiG's website even, you might find an article on this bird T-55. But one of the things that we're going to reflect on, and once again, is our forgotten archives. And as you guys know, we're doing the Tiger on page 195. Not exactly this Tiger, but certainly the, you know, I'm not going to use the same numbering, I'm not going to use the same shell hits and all that sort of stuff, but it'll be a tank in his company, nevertheless. But and as we can see, the lowering of the suspension is important here with the amount of shell hits. And I have another shot here on page 96, and you can see how low the track, or how tight the track gets up against the fender of the tank. You know, there's only a 3-inch gap there, so the suspension and the torsion bars really let go once the fire starts. So keep all these things in mind. If you're going to burn out a heavy tank, and don't do this to the American stuff. The Sherman tank fries in a totally different way. So don't start lowering the suspensions on Sherman tanks and what have you on our side, on the Allied side. But nevertheless, how do we do that? How do we lower the suspension? I find that just looking through photographic references, they drop about halfway. So how are we going to execute that? Tamiya has come up with in the situation with ours, and I haven't, even though I have the beautiful Tiger tank from Dragon, and I have also the Ming King Tiger, I've never opened the box tops to see how they support the suspension systems in those kits. But Tamiya adds a little pin here which stabilizes and there's obviously a little hole there, and of course, being Tamiya, of course, it's perfectly engineered always to be at the correct height. So one of the things you're going to have to do is shear off all these pins. And once you do that, which I've done on this side, this suddenly becomes a pretty wobbly type of axle. It's loosey-goosey in here. It can be positioned anywhere you want. So that's a luxury. Except, where is that line in the sand where you're going to lower the suspension. How low can you go, and which position do you put this arm once you've sheared off those pins? So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to, and I've just taken a notepad, you know, those sticky pads, and that's at the right height of a King Tiger, with the suspension being all normal. Now, how did I find out the height? I fortunately have a Yag Tiger, which is basically a King Tiger chassis and hull with the different superstructure. So what I did was I just slid that underneath to find the right height. So as you can see, this is exactly the height. And all I did was just pull pages off until I was at the right height. So let me just turn that around so the camera can see. So just take a Post-it note, piece of paper, find the correct height, and as you can see, it's perfect. There's almost zero tolerance between the pad of paper and the bottom of the tank. So once we discover that, then you're going to cut the Post-it notes in half, the stack in half. So I'm just going to do that here. I've drawn a line on here so I know where the stack is going to break. Which is right here. So now we have half the stack. Another way of doing that, if you have a stack of business cards, you can do the same with business cards. If you don't have a Post-it note stack, you can just take business cards, slide them under the right height, and then just divide by 2. So if you got 50 here, just drop it down to 25, and then you have the proper height, give or take, of where you want to line up the suspension on here. Because what you're going to have to do is stabilize this tank underneath while the suspension is gluing and hardening. So once we divide by half, and these are just pretty good estimates. Okay, so let's carry on. Let's use this Post-it note as our guide, not the business cards. Mainly because they're Hornet Hobbies business cards, and I don't want them dog-eared when I hand them out. So, but that's just another alternative to the Post-it notes, is to use a stack of business cards. Shove the business cards under, get the correct height, and then divide by 2. And that should give you, roughly, based on photographic reference, the suspension height. Alright, so we have our proper height. We now have a support underneath our tank. And then what I've done is knocked off a few of these axles just to show you this morning. I'm going to sit down this afternoon and knock off all the rest and set the suspension properly. But what you're going to have to do is keep in mind that when you're putting together large tanks, to follow the instruction, to me, there's nobody better as far as clarity and that sort of thing, but just get the axles going the right way first of all. Because if you start drawing lines on here and you've got this reversed or not the right axles sitting in the right spot, obviously your tank's going to be off a little bit as far as the construction of the wheels. So anyway, follow the instruction sheet. So I've got it like so, and I'm going to slide in number A19 into the right socket here, which is right there. Put it on our Post-it notes so that the wheels hit. Like so. And then just take a regular pencil, it'll draw no problem on a hull like this, on a plastic hull. So then just draw a line where the axle sits. Just take your pencil, press it up against the axle. Alright, so now you have a guide so that you can reflect on that. In the gluing process of these axles. So our line in the sand is right there, and now there's a line there to glue. So as you can see, guys, there's very little wheel dropping down, and then you got your drop suspension. So it works like a charm. Very easy to do. How long did it really take me to do that? Probably all of about 10 minutes. And then just go all the way along. Draw your little pencil lines. And then glue properly. Now one of the things I won't do, and these wheels here are not glued to the axle. These wheels are put on with a little bit of blue tack. Because I'm not going to be able to get in behind these wheels to weather and and I know that there's modelers out there that like to glue everything together, including the track, and then put on their primer and then proceed to paint, and everything is lashed on, all the tools are lashed on and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine. It's just another way of modeling. But I think Dave and I come from a school where you know, leaving the wheels off and leaving the tools off and turning those into individual little projects is more the type of modeling that we like. So anyway, so what's going to happen is, gentlemen, and I'll just conclude here, is you're going to have a whole line of axles with no wheels on them. But you've got your guideline with your pencil lines here to set them up. And next time we get together, you'll see a whole line of axles, no wheels. I'm going to choose to paint these individually, weather them individually, and we've all seen Dave Forrest, the way he's using his oil washes and what have you. Each and every wheel, and I realize that there's probably, whatever it is, 24 wheels on this tank. Each and every wheel is going to be, you know, possibly some are going to be in green, some are going to be in red, some of them are going to be in the German yellow, but each and every wheel is going to be independently painted, and it's going to really reflect once the model's all done. And like I say, we've all been to Dave Forrest's school of putting on filters and washes. You start doing that to individual pieces such as this wheel, your model's just going to pop. The difficulty with that is, of course, is there's so many of them. So you can pick and choose as you go. Obviously, with the German wheels, there's also a lot of overlapping. But fortunately for Dave, he's gone to AMPS and he's won gold medals. He's gone to U.S. Nationals and won gold medals. His approach to this type of thing is in my opinion, the way to go. So, like I say, I'm going to have a series of axles here, paint the wheels individually, and then carry on. And the hull and all the add-ons are going to be treated the same way, individually. But having said that, I know that there's a school out there of probably 30% of the guys who like to paint and glue, glue everything and then paint, and that's quite okay too. This is an individual thing. Most of us are gonna have these in our basements for 365 days of the year, and now and again take them to shows. So how you execute it is all, you know, it's your business. I'm just showing you one other way of doing it. So that's our exercise for today. Next time we get together, it'll be a painting session. We'll be putting on the German yellow. We'll be talking about the shell hits and the kind of colors that take place during the shell hit. And once again, even though this is sort of in the light colors of the Middle East, some of the colors used here are also going to be used on our King Tiger. So that's our filming for this morning, and I look forward to seeing you guys really soon. Take care. Thanks so much.